Hello and welcome to Math Materials for Primary One. I'm Joanne Caniglia and I teach at Kent State University. Kent State has a very strong relationship with Rwanda, the University of Rwanda, and a few other colleges there. And one of the things that we have here, and we hope to have in your country as well, is a makerspace. And the makerspace has materials that you can create to help children to learn. And one of the things that they have are machines that cut materials for children to understand. So, given that, I went through your Mathematics Primary One textbook and I looked at all of the materials that I saw there. Anything that needed some materials, concrete. And I speak of concrete materials, materials that you can touch, feel, and then they look at the representations in their book, and then hopefully they will then be able to do it mentally in the abstract. So let's begin by looking at some of the materials that we have sent and will continue to send to the schools that the teacher preparation schools such as yours. The first thing we found were numeral cards. We found numbers. We can give you counters, less than and greater than, ladybug combinations, shapes, base 10 pieces, clocks, and puzzles. So in a box that I presented to Nelson, who is the director of all schools for teacher education, hopefully he will share with some of you. And then when we get on Zoom meetings, we can then have further conversations because then you will have the materials. So let's take a look at the first thing. Throughout the first unit in primary one in mathematics, you see numbers. And they may not be exactly the way that you teach the numbers. If not, then of course you can help the children. But I noticed the numbers that were how the numbers were written in the primary one book, and I tried to copy that. The most important thing about all of this is the importance of one-to-one correspondence. So when you say 3, 1, 2, 3, the child can actually put little things or dots or seeds or anything that you have, little stones or pebbles, so that there's one-to-one correspondence. It's an important term in math education, and it means that for every number that the child says, there is one and only one object. So 1, 2, 3. Sometimes children do this. 1, 2, 3. There's 3. No, they get them mixed up. They move them around. No, so it has to be one-to-one correspondence. You can do the same thing for counting up to 10, 6 through 10, 6 through 9. And again, they can count and they can put one small stone in each of those. And then they can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is that one-to-one correspondence. I also included numerals, and numerals are just numbers, and you can put them up with, and this will help the child to write their numbers. They can also form numbers, and in a few moments, I'm going to show you how they can actually form really nice equations or inequalities with it too. So these are the numbers. When I looked at the textbook, this seemed to be the way that most of the books, most of the numbers are. So I made those. And then the child can, to help them to write the numbers, the child can actually put their fingers on it. And it actually feels like, well, foam. And it really is maybe helpful for them to sort of see it. Another thing I put into the packet is 2 color counters. And 2 color counters, on one side, they're yellow, maybe, and the other side, red. Sometimes you'll see white and red. In any event, these are wonderful objects to help students to understand part, whole. That means I have 3 red, I have 2 yellow, I have 3 plus 2, which would be then equal to 5. Or you could do subtraction. You can say, I have 5 altogether, and I want to subtract 3. And so you would have 2 left. Here are the math symbols that are recorded in the primary one. You see greater than, less than, equals, minus, and plus. When you take those numerals, then the child can actually make an inequality. They can put 5 is greater than 2. They can put 4 is equal to 4, or they can put 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 with those numerals. They can do subtraction. What my students have difficulty with is which way does this go? This actually goes to the left is the greater. I mean, when you have like the 2 sides here, 2, I always tell my students 2 is larger than the 1 here. So this is the small part. It points to the smaller number. This over here would be the smaller number, and this is the larger number because it's larger over here than it is over there. Just little ways to help you remember. I also saw ladybugs. This again is known as part whole. And what the child does is look at the ladybug form, and I made many different kinds. So for instance, 2 plus 2. Down below, they write 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And then they can check by counting. So you have some of those that I hope will help students to understand it a little bit better. We use 10 frames an awful lot in the United States, but you also have them in your primary one textbook. You have 10 frames are just the frame like this, and then you can put the dots inside to help the child to understand 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. But it goes to 10. And why 10? Because that's our number system. It's all based on 10. It can help the child to say, oh, look, 9 is greater than 7 here, or 7 is smaller than 9. So they can help with inequalities. They can help with putting numbers in order. They can help with adding numbers. Here's 7. How many more do I need in order to get 10? The answer is 3. 10 frames can help you to count to 20. So this is what we see here. It can help the child to understand that the 1, and like if you have 12, the 1 means 10. And then here is the 2. So they can see place value with this as well. But you can help them count to 20. And here again, you see, put numbers in order. You can ask the children to put the wide variety of numbers in order. You can ask them, but you can see that the 10 is on top, and then you have all the other pieces. So the 4 is in the 1's place, for example, and the 1 is in the 10's place. So it really does, I think, help immensely. And this again is for place value. You have 10 frames, you have the 10 pieces here. These are called, and I also included 100 square so that the children can see, but in primary one, they can see that this number is 34. 3 10s and 4 1s. Here's a puzzle that you can help with your children. I will include many of these 100 squares for you. And then if you could cut them out into 7 pieces, but don't cut diagonally, cut up and down or across, like over here in this picture. And then the child has to take those 7 pieces. All you need is 7. And then they have to try to rearrange the pieces to try to make sure that they are in the right place. So it helps them with number sense. I saw many 100 charts in there. You can also ask the child to color, like for instance, 2 to 92 or 4 to 94. Those are even numbers and every other number, or color every third number and to see what that looks like. So there's a lot of different ways of helping them to see numbers that are larger or smaller. One of my favorite games is to say, I have a number, you try to guess. So for instance, if my number was 47, I would never tell anybody, but my students would say, is the number bigger than 50? And I would say, no, it's less than 50. And then they would say, is the number bigger than 25? And I would say, yes, the number is bigger than 25. And then they would say, is the number smaller than 50? And I would say no, or whatever it would be. So the idea that what you are doing, I'm going to say yes, I'm sorry. What you are doing is helping children to understand the values of the numbers. And a hundreds chart is excellent for seeing patterns. I also noticed that in primary 1, primary 2 has 1/8, but primary 1 has fractions 1, 1/2, and 1/4. Giving the child these manipulatives help them to see that 2 1/2s are equal to 1 whole. 4 1/4s are equal to 1 whole. It's a wonderful system in which they really can understand better equivalent fractions, inequalities of fractions. They could see that 1/2 is smaller than 1. And finally, you have right angles, you have shapes. I sent a whole bunch of different shapes, large and small. You can play a game here too. You can say, I'm thinking of a shape that has 4 sides. I'm thinking of a shape that does not have equal angles. I'm thinking of a shape that has only one pair of equal sides. The other two are not equal. I'm thinking of a shape, and we don't use color so much. We want to think about the numbers and the properties. I'm thinking of a shape that has the same sides on both sides, and up on top and on the bottom, it is different. So then they could see, oh, maybe it's the rhombus here. So I'm sorry, the trapezoid. This is a trapezoid here. Rhombus is right here. Okay. I also noticed that you have clocks, a lot of clocks in yours, and the child needs to tell time. In primary 1, it's basically telling the time by the hour. So these are connected, and what you have is on cardstock. It's not very sturdy, and I wish it could be more, but at this point, it's all that matters. So I'm really excited that you can have the child tell time. What time is it? Every time they need to, leave or come back or any kind of thing, any kind of change, you might say, what time is it? And they would have to tell you by simply moving their clocks, their hands on the clock. And this is our final puzzle. It's shapes again, but it's called tangrams. It's a Chinese puzzle. And all you have to do is try to match the different shapes here, and the child can get wonderful shapes. They need to use all 7 pieces, and they don't repeat any of them. Well, these 2 are repeated and these 2 are repeated, but in terms of their use, I wouldn't cut this in half. I wouldn't cut that in half. You keep them as they are. I hope that this has helped you to understand a little bit about the math manipulatives. I'm a strong proponent of helping children learn and see things concretely, and then moving over to something that is from concrete to pictorial, to a picture in your book. And then from there, you go to the final thing, you go to you go to the abstract, in which the child should be able to see things on their own without having to be prompted. I've enjoyed working with all these things. I've enjoyed reading through your primary one textbook. So thank you so much. And I hope that we meet on Zoom soon. Thank you. And more materials are coming. Thank you. Thank you.